right, guys, welcome back. This is your host, Tor the Magi. This is the Charlotte Out Toys podcast, and we're back for another episode. So, who I have with me is another visual artist right here. Just a lot of weird art. I like weird stuff, different things. As if you're looking at the visual version on YouTube right now, you can see this behind me right now. This is Saiga Saturn. Look at that. Anyway, we got Saiga Saturn here. I wanted to have him on the podcast because I just like people who make different types of art. And, I just want to, we all want to learn about his journey in some way, shape, or form. So let's go ahead and have him talk and everything, man. How's your day been going so far, Saturn?
It's going good. I just had a Christmas party last night, so it was a good time. But I'm a little bit let's say tired.
A little bit bogged down.
A little bit. But I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. I'm having a good day. Yeah. I'm from New York, so you guys are having a very mild winter.
Yes, I know.
So
it is warm outside right now.
It's warm outside, so that's a little weird for me. I'm personally I love winter, so I enjoy the cold. I was excited, even though I know it's not going to be a New York winter. I was hoping for cold, and you guys are not delivering, but it's cool.
So is this your first year here?
Year and a half. So second. I'm pulling up on the second year now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I moved here from New York to be with my fiance. She's from South Carolina, but she's spent a lot of time in Charlotte. So
I'm from South Carolina too.
Okay, all right. She's from Dillon, really small.
Dillon,
yeah,
I know Dillon.
Yeah, she's from.
They got
Dillon.
a football team though.
Oh yes, they do. So we spent some time in New York, and then we ended up moving to Charlotte, and now we're here, and got really plugged in with the art scene here, and that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, you already answered the question. I wanted to know why you got here, but thank you for letting me know.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm jumping ahead of you.
No, you're fine.
You can ask the next question, and then I'll answer it this time.
What is that conversation, my guy? I wanted to ask you this. So, were you doing art before you even got here, though?
You know what? That's interesting. I had stopped doing art for a while. I think what I was doing before I moved here was more corporate art.
Yeah.
Graphic design, branding, stuff like that. And I think, unfortunately, what happened, and this wasn't the plan, but I think doing that stuff kind of inhibited me creatively. So I was doing corporate art, and I wasn't working on my own projects. I wasn't working on my own, my own aesthetic. But I know I'm not the only one. I know this is a popular thing, but I think the pandemic kind of kicked me into gear where I started toying with ideas again, working in my own on my own processes again, and developing a new style that I was really happy with. And soon after that, I moved to Charlotte, and I was still in that creative way. So I sought out creatives. I was looking for, where's the art scene? Where are people moving? And I was lucky. I think I stopped at Open Studios. I think it's called Dilworth Station. People told me about the Vapa Center.
Dilworth Station.
Yeah, Dilworth Station. I think it's an art building, and I just happened to hear about it when I came here. And they had Open Studios. I went to there. There was an artist that was like, "Oh, you should check out the Vapa Center." I went to Vapa Center, Open Studios. They were like, "Check out Camp North and check out," and I just started. Yeah, I just started getting plugged in with the different creative communities. And one thing that's great about being around other creatives is it kind of energizes you. The discussions, just seeing other people's processes and kind of how they create. So I think after that I really got locked in, and I really started investing a lot of time into creating and just developing a solid body of work. Yeah.
That's dope though. I like to see I like your little journey and everything, and just
Appreciate
figuring out everything. This I liked how the fact that it brought this out of you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened. I mean, I was already kind of in the art scene before I got here and everything.
Okay.
I was kind of already trying to be my own artist and
from?
everything. South Carolina, Pawleys Island, South Carolina.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, little tiny town down there, and I'm a rapper and everything.
Okay.
And coming up here, just seeing everything out here, all the opportunities and stuff.
Right.
It kind of made me just want it even more.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it kind of brought it out of you, because I have gone through those points where you're doing your art, and then you're life.
Yeah.
Everything takes away from it, so you got to let it go dormant for a little bit.
For sure.
But it brought it back out of you.
Yeah, it did, in a new way that I'm really happy with. I'm genuinely excited for, growth and just like really pushing like the style that I'm working with to like its limits. Like I'm constantly working on new ways to show to like exhibit these themes and these ideas. So yeah.
Now, let's talk about that style.
Sure.
From what I've seen on Instagram and like I've seen like you have a mural, right? That you done?
I don't think I did a mirror. No,
Or it was
didn't
like I
do a
saw like a
mural.
wall that you had
Oh,
done.
that's actually my studio.
That's your studio?
That's my studio. Yeah. The first thing I did, yeah. So the first thing I did in my studio, well, honestly, the first thing I did was tear up the carpet. But after that, I was like, I want to make it my space. Like I want to know, like when I come in here, or when other people come in here, like I want you to know readily, that this is my space. I think one thing that I took away that probably is a positive thing from corporate art is branding, and I want to make sure that like even when you see my work, even if my name's not next to it, if I'm not part of it, like you're like, oh, I've seen this style, like I recognize this, you know what I mean? And that's happened to me several times where people are like, oh, I've seen this somewhere, and maybe they don't know, but they're like, oh, okay, like they can put it together and be like, oh, this is you.
Eventually they'll figure out, even if they don't figure out the name at that point. They'll find it out
Yeah,
eventually.
that's what, like I want them to say, I've seen this artist before. Like I want them to start, connecting the dots, literally. So yeah, what was the question about this? Oh, we were talking about, okay, so yeah, I painted the back wall of my studio when I got there. And even that, like I started, doing more things. When you turn off the lights, like there's hidden dots that start to glow. And then I was like the floor, like I covered it over like in polyacrylic, and then I put dots on the floor too. So like when you turn off the lights in my space, the floor and the walls start glowing.
So it's hard
circles.
floor?
It's hard. So it was carpet before, and then when I tore it up, it's kind of like it's a very industrial looking floor or whatever, which is like real dusty or whatever, and that's fine. So what I did is put like a really nice gloss over it, so it's glazed over in polyacrylic, some epoxy, so it's like it looks industrial, but it's all hidden underneath the shiny epoxy, and then I painted some circles on there, and and some dots, yeah. So that's what you saw is my space. I guess it could be a mural, but it's my own personal one.
No, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right now I'm in a process of kind of like re-customizing my whole space and everything.
Sure.
I'm over here looking at like pictures, like rugs and stuff I want to put in, like tapestries I want to put in the wall, because I do things that like I kind of, with the whole re-entering my creative space and like, my creative like pursuits, it kind of made me think, why don't I like decorate it a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I like that, and when I see like for example, your wall and everything and the rest of your art, I see like this, like you said, your brand, like the shapes and everything that's like all uniform.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't see many people doing that. Like, how would you like explain that to anybody?
Sure. I think the term that I like to use is neo-pointillism. I loved, like in art school, I loved Seurat. I love pointillism, like making these complex forms that all start with dots. So that combined with like my love of comic books and the old halftone styles, my love of pop art, Liechtenstein, that's kind of what I like to call neo-pointillism. That's the combine of like different dot art styles that I love and themes that I love. So that's how I would put it. I think if you kind of jam pop art and pointillism together, I think that's where my style sits. And I try to make it as consistent as possible. So when you see it, you know before you know. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. So, like, you read a lot of comic books when you were younger?
I did. I like, one thing that I grew up that made me fall in love with comics, it was when I was growing up, I watched, like, I love cartoons.
Yeah.
I still watch them in my practice now. I'm putting on cartoons from the 90s to like be in the background. I love the like Justice League is Justice League the animated series, Batman the animated series, like Superman. Those are shows that like shaped my childhood. So I love that style of art. I love comics, and I think what my subject matter often is what I imagine are like comic book heroes. I like to call them extraordinary humans and emotional machines. So if you see robots, they're probably exhibiting some human emotion, and the people are like some nature of superhuman. So, like I'll have a robot that's throwing its hands up and it's called All the Rage. I'll have a robot that's hooked up to a machine. It's called attachment issues. So I think in possibly I think the idea is to have these very playful, bright pop art colors and juxtapose it with more serious themes. So I want to draw you in with nice looking things, and then kind of maybe touch at more serious human emotions and stuff that we go through. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, I went through Instagram. I was looking at all your art and everything.
Yeah.
I seen like your captions and stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to like really like see what, because I know people put their messages within their art and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, what is? I was reading. I was like, oh, what does this mean?
Yeah.
I guess that's cool. I guess that's cool.
Yeah.
When you say it, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so creative. I love that so much.
I think that when people say like if you're like when I was growing up, like say you had like an ear infection or something, you have to the remedy would be garlic, but you can't, like I'm a kid, you don't just give them garlic, you put it in a spoonful of honey first. So I'm just like I think beautiful colors, nice clean lines draw you in, and then on a deeper level I'm like, yeah, let's just touch on this kind of very human thing that you can connect with, and I don't think it's always readily, like you might not get it on the first go. Sometimes you just appreciate, you might just like the dots, you might just like the colors, but there's a little depth in there too. Yeah.
So something about that. So do you, all right, picking your brain about this.
Sure.
I seen you do a lot of the robot stuff.
Yeah.
And the superheroes.
Yeah.
Do you think that like the superheroes are like a metaphor for like the robots, or like just being a robot, like being that superhero? Because not everybody can like have that order that is to like do these things, these amazing feats. Is that what you're like going for?
Yeah, I think the superhero like people are more, for me they're more fantasy, because like in real life people kind of aren't super. We don't have those abilities. We're just very human. So I think in my world the people get to be super and the robots get to be human. So the robots are the ones experiencing emotions and the complexities of being a human, and the people get to be super. Maybe it's some kind of release, some kind of freedom from the reality of life, which is that humans don't get to be super. We're just very normal. So I think that's what's going on. It's a little bit of a flip where the robots are human and the humans are super, is kind of what's going on.
It kind of brings us back to earth and reminds us that we are not perfect beings.
Yeah. So that's, I think, I get to play out the fantasy of more perfect beings through art. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just very different in reality. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you kind of talked about like some of your influences. Like,
Sure.
Can you dip back in like who, like people wise, like who've influenced you, like just not even just like artistically, but
Yeah.
maybe like their mindset or something like.
Okay. Let me think about like I know for sure artists who have influenced me, and I think I'm trying to think of people, but I'm drawing a blank.
No,
and
that's
I
fine.
think
Like I didn't,
Yeah.
for a while, like I
Yeah.
didn't know like anybody, like
Yeah.
until like recently I was just starting
Sure.
to think more about like how people, dang, like I'm thinking about my mom and stuff. My dog, my
Yeah.
mom low key does inspire me. I was
Yeah.
like, for a while I didn't have any role models. I was just living
Yeah.
life. I'm just sitting here existing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold up, who? People talk about people.
Yeah.
What about people? But I was just asking to see if you knew anything.
Yeah, you know what? I think I don't want to say that like there's just because people are very flawed. I think in general, I think I'm realizing it's probably important to me to not put anyone on too high a pedestal.
No, I feel you for that.
I think that things like if I think less about people inspire me and more about their stories. So I think when it's someone, yeah, I think it's when it's the story, someone's individual story about overcoming something huge. I think there's maybe a story there, like an individual story that will influence me more than the whole person, because I think it's important to separate, because like a lot of times no one is fully well-rounded, like they're not all the way well-rounded to the point where like all the stories will influence you in positive, like you hear something great and then you're like, oh, there's a kind of a negative thing here. So I think just people's individual stories is what kind of like I'll take little bits and pieces and be like, oh, and hold on to those. I think that's probably more where my like inspiration and influences come, like rather than like people, the individuals themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not about, I would definitely agree with you on that. I don't think it's about the person. I think it's about the stories that they tell themselves, if I'm being honest. Because it's like, I feel like we are storytelling beings. That's why we have the Bible. That's why we have all these different religious like texts.
Yeah.
That's why we have, that's why comic books, movies, there's so many intellectual properties that do influence generations and people.
And just in that same thread, I think those comic book stories are, you know, those are things that influence me greatly, because like, you know, there'll be a story where what the story is actually about is, you know, heroes and villains working together to dismantle like this super robot or something, but what it actually is about is a robot that became so powerful that they like felt like they didn't have purpose, and they're trying to understand like what essentially humans go through every day, which is trying to understand what our purpose is in life, why keep on going, trying to understand where our place in the universe is. So that's like a story that that I think helps guide me and kind of influences me, because I think it's helpful to understand that all of us are kind of on this rock together, all trying to sort things out and like figure out who we are, what our place is, where we belong, what we're meant to be doing. So I think that is an example of like the story that influences me more than like an individual or a person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And before we like your the way that you like look at the entire world and like how that comes into your art, and just really like not even just your art but you as a person.
Sure.
I wanted to before we get back into that, I wanted to bring light to basically we have a sponsor for this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank Expression. Basically for this episode, Frank Expression LOC is going to be sponsoring us. He wanted you guys let you know guys about the Expression Directory, which is basically a directory for you to go up there. You could find some live performance opportunities, creative like production opportunities as well for your like resume. Also some business workshops for your brand and everything. For artists, whatever you do, he can have for you basically. Basically you can go ahead and on his Instagram, he has his Instagram is Frank_Expression, FRANK_EXPRESSION. Again, that's Frank Expression, FRANK_EXPR. Oh my God, EXPRESSION. He also has a nice open mic. It's called Wine About Poetry. It's at the Auto Pour. Basically, you do get to go ahead and pour your own wine, sit down, take a look at some poetry events, some poetry performances. It's not even just poetry. Sometimes people perform music and stuff. And you can go up there too. It's an open mic. Remember that. So again, like hit him up on Instagram. We have it in our bio as well. You can go follow him. He's a nice guy. Another poet out here himself. So I went to some of his events and he's pretty nice. So it's really nice production. So if you want, they're looking for vendors. They're looking for people to perform. They're looking for people who pull up and just watch all that stuff. So go ahead and hit him up, and we'll get back to the conversation. But yes, you were talking about like your like just what inspired you, like what like your stories and the stories of people,
Sure.
everything, and like yeah, I love that. So I think about like stories and stuff too, because like I feel like we need those kind of to shape us as people. So I'm glad that you're able to like that's what I want to talk about. You talk about the honey and the garlic.
Yeah.
And like I love that because I feel like that's what art's for.
Yeah.
Like that's what stories are for.
Yeah.
It's there so that you can have like the underlying like morals and everything.
Yeah.
And still have like and make it fun.
Still have like a nice overarching, story, like, regular themes, and then the hidden, more important, maybe harder to talk about things, under the surface, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and being like, how old are you, by the way? You mind if I ask you?
No, I don't mind. I am 32. Yeah.
I feel like I've learned a lot in my years, like living life. I'm 24, by the way.
Okay.
And like I feel like a lot of the life lessons that we have do come into our art and everything. Has there been any experiences that have been kind of like major for you that like kind of shaped like you as a person that kind of makes you do this better?
That makes me do art better?
Yeah, or at least like it's not even just like, oh yeah, my style's gotten better, but it's like this better, like more towards like where your soul needs.
Okay. You know what? I think I'm trying to think of any individual experiences that have like helped, some profound moment that helped push my art forward. I wouldn't so much say that there is one, but I would say that, to be very honest, the collection of experiences that I have with my fiance have helped a lot, because as I'm sure many artists, if not all of them, are familiar with, is feelings of like imposter syndrome, self-doubt, having somebody that's like on your team, like really on your team, that is like endlessly supportive, but also very, very honest with you about your work and your progress and stuff is like it's immeasurably important. And I think experiences with her, conversations with her, are something that really help push my art as far as it's gone so far, and I imagine farther into the future. I think there's been pep talks, there's been conversations, and there's been accountability where I'm working on something and I'm kind of like I'm willing to kind of throw in the towel a little bit early. And I think there's a part of me that probably knows at that point that it still needs more work, and I'll check in with her, and she'll be like, yeah, no, it's not, like it's not there yet. And I think that's, I think like that's just super important. And I think just having her just in my corner is, if I'm trying to put, if I'm trying to, scale it out and pick which experiences have helped push my art forward, it's the ones with her. If I'm, just being honest about it, yeah.
No.
Yeah, but I don't know if I have like one experience, and I'll hold on to that question, and I'll try to, I'll rack my brain for it, but I don't think there's just one experience where I was just like, you know what, this is that moment where I'm just like, this is how I'm gonna proceed from now on. Like something clicked. I think those moments are a little bit overrated. Just a huge fireworks moment. I think it's a lot of times it's a lot of little bursts, a lot of little fireworks that culminate in a big thing. I mean, not to say that I don't want to like say that those don't happen or that they're not valuable, but I think the consistent like little moments is what really has helped me triumph, at least to the point that I'm at so far. Yeah.
No, that was a great answer for that. Like,
oh well, thank you.
That's how I feel. Like, especially because like with my ex and stuff. Like, I feel like especially when you're in long-term relationships, that does kind of change your mindset. And like also like as an artist, when you have so much emotional energy that you need to put out into like your work and everything, having someone to support you through those times whenever you're still trying to like pump this stuff out, finish this work, because it's like it's got all this emotional energy wrapped up inside of it, intertwined. It does help, and like I feel like it just gives you a lot of experience with people with really just dealing with life and everything. So like
I think when I show up places where it's like either if it's a show where I'm going to be around people or it's just in my studio to work on something, I think I'm coming from a healthy place of support, and I think that's like the initial booster rocket, like that momentum coming from a place where I just had a great conversation of support helps me flow into my workspace or into a gallery space where I can confidently talk about about the work I'm presenting, or I can confidently start a new piece. So yeah, I think those you know like you said, in a long relationship, it can change your mind state for the better or worse. It can influence your actions and how you carry things out. And I think I'm always coming from like a positive start, because I'm like, I'm yeah, I have somebody that gives me like that boost, that push, out the door every time. So I'm always going in with a positive, spirit. So yeah. Yeah.
And I have a question, like, what are you
Sure.
usually looking for? Like, you talked about, like, when you go into these spaces, you already got
Sure.
that good energy going.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you're about to go and create, like, what does, like, that look like when everything's just the right way?
Oh, when I'm going in to create, I'm excited. Like, I think I'm excited about a new way that I could present the stuff I do. When I like made the TV
Yeah, I was
show,
gonna ask you about that. Yeah.
I was like, this is like a new way that I can present, because my work revolves around dots, but I was like, dots, LEDs are dots.
Hey.
This is a new way I can present. When I recently created some 3D prints, and I'm using like the old, because nostalgia is big in my practice, and so I'm using the old 3D glasses that you use for movies, and I created prints that, like, when you look at them, they pop out, and I'm like, this is a new way that I can work with dots. So I think whenever I'm coming into my practice, I'm looking for the next evolution, or the next branch off of like the core tenets of my style. So I'm always excited when there's like this new thing that I can do with it, this new direction that I could flex it into. So yeah, I think when I come into the studio, it's to expand and push myself as far as I can with the style that I'm working in. Yeah.
What was your first, like, major, like, medium, I feel like, or style?
So my first major media. So how I was working in college. It still revolved around, I think, heroes and villains. But how I worked was, honestly, it was, I don't want to say primarily through photography, because that's not all the way accurate, but what I was doing was I was taking photographs of things to represent textures, and then I was collaging those textures together to create like villainous faces. And that was like that was my first show. So it's like it was just large portraitures of different villains, and I called it a rogues gallery, which is like, it's all the villains from that like a superhero has. So like Batman's rogues gallery is like the Riddler, the Joker, etc. Like all the Penguin, that's his rogues gallery. So it was kind of like my rogues gallery, which were these different textured, created villains. And that was college, and then corporate art, and then I took a break, and I emerged with a new style that still uses the same themes, but in a different way. But that was my first major style. It was using textures to represent like the faces of evil. Yeah.
So, okay, I got a better picture of the progression and everything.
Yeah.
So, like, you literally were taking pictures of stuff. Like, you say you took pictures of
Yeah,
the textures,
yeah.
and then you snipped them
And
around?
then I was cutting them, composing them.
That's dope.
I'd bring them into Photoshop. Like I had one that was like the texture of my hand, and
Man.
how the parts swoop here. Like,
Yeah.
I was using those and repeating them to make the wrinkles of the around the eyes, and then I was like, so that was, then I would tint it green, so now you have like a green tinted villain with these like red eyes and like, but it's really like the texture is like originally from a hand. So
That's so cool.
That was like what I was doing, and I got a positive reception. I think it's just when I got back into it, I had, you evolve and grow even if you're not actively working in your practice, and I think this is just where I am now. It's just just took it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I like to see like the way people like grow and up to where they are right now,
Yeah.
And I don't want to end it just yet, but I think we are gonna have to end it on like break it off soon or
Okay.
anything.
Yeah. No worries.
But like no, like I like you started off with that whole like the whole different thing. I like how you added it like in like computer work, like doing stuff on the computer, like
Yeah.
actually like Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's like so creative whenever people know how to like use Photoshop
Yeah.
and do some stuff on the whole entire workflow of that. That's what fascinates me because I do like workflow. I guess that's probably what came from like the corporate part of it.
Yeah, I think what my idea was, because I majored in studio art, but I was just like, I'll focus on graphic design, because I was like, if art doesn't work out, I'll be able to work a corporate job. And I guess I didn't realize that the issue with that was that like I succeeded in working a corporate job, but I wasn't keeping up with the art at all. But that was kind of like my fail-safe, like that was a backup plan. I was like, I'm going to make sure that I know how to build websites and I know how to do graphic design, so there will always be like a market for me. But unfortunately, that meant that I was neglecting like my studio practice. But the benefit of it is that I think that I do have a decent grasp on what branding looks like, how to get someone to like associate with you with a thing. I think that's important, when people, however big that my circle of influence is, and as it grows, people see me, they're like, with the dots. He has dot work, and that's a good little thing to have in their head and expand on that. But I need to implant that initial thing. But yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So I brought you some stickers.
Word?
Yes, of course. Okay, so here's a
TV girl?
Here's a TV girl sticker. There you go.
Thank you, my guy.
Let me see.
I'm gonna start putting these on my laptop.
Put them on stuff. Stick them on stuff. Here's a Midnighter sticker. These are smaller. Here's a Midnighter sticker.
Midnighter.
Yeah, go ahead and see. Let me see if I have. Usually I try to carry some like business card stickers on me. I don't know if I have any on me. I feel bad that I don't, but
not be able to see these.
Yeah.
Maybe two of them. It's like a little man with like a detective hat.
Yeah.
This man is a drunkard, but it always has his pointillist, his
Right.
neo-pointillism
See,
style on there.
I brand everything like this.
I thought you were like, that's your job or something. I was like,
Yeah.
hold up, this is like your
Right.
actual brand on
Yeah,
here.
this is Very Many Dots by Saiga. Saiga established Saturn. I tried it, and I found. So here's a sticker of that, and all right, you have a collection. And
Most def.
Lastly, here's my business card. It's also a sticker.
It's also a sticker,
So,
of course.
yeah.
Keep it all
But
together.
I think branding is important, and I know that like artists don't like to deal with that in marketing, and I understand that completely because I don't like to deal with marketing at all. But like when I like look at metrics and stuff, like things that sell, even good ideas need like marketing, like.
Most definitely, I know that.
People buy stuff like when they see it repetitive, they see it, it's through repetition. When they like something really excites them, that's when they go out and get it. And I just have to remember that, like, even if you have a really cool idea, it might not sell until somebody sees it 12 times, until they connect something triggers them and they're like, oh, this is why I need this thing. So, as much as I think that, like, this TV girl is dope as hell and you should just get it because it's dope, like, the fact is, like, I probably need to sell you on it a little bit. Like, I might need to kind of convince you that it's cool. I mean, clearly it is, but I gotta kind of put in a little work. So I try to live in the reality of that and try to like brand myself as much as I can without, being like not to a point that I'm uncomfortable, but like in a what I think is a cool way.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Saiga, well, definitely. Thank you for the stickers and everything. I love
Absolutely.
thinking about branding
Thank
and all
you for
that
having
stuff.
me. Yeah.
Think about. Speaking of branding,
Yeah.
we're about to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah.
I just want to remind you guys again. Please hit up Frank Expression on Instagram because he does have the creative directory for you guys who want to expand your brand and everything. Have some nice performance experiences as well as his. If you're out here in this Charlotte area, go to the Wine About Poetry event at the Auto Pour, and you will be able to have some fun out here. And yeah, this has been your host, Tor the Magi. We have Saiga Saturn here. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and cut it off here, man. Thank you guys for watching. See us on the next one, YouTube, Spotify, all the streaming services, and yeah, we're all out.